Hello, what's good, everybody? Oh, I forgot something. Hold on. I forgot to plug in my mic. How's everybody doing tonight? Let me know how you're doing in the chat while I plug this in. All right, that should be much better. All right. Cool. I was so caught up in watching Saul G and Corey Fraser on Libra TV that I forgot to plug my stuff in. That's how entrancing their show is. Shout out to Solomon Graham and to Corey Fraser. Great show. I watched the whole thing earlier today. Usually I'm not able to do that because I'm busy doing other stuff, but I wanted to take some time. So want to give them a shout out. Here's a second. All right. Steven Sams, what's going on, brother? I am ready to drop some truth bombs. Well done. How you doing? Okay, let's see what I got here. My stuff isn't working the way I want it to. There we go. Give me a second. Just gonna wait for some more people to come in. All right. What's up, Libre? Oh, okay, I see. You got it spelled out phonetically. Appreciate you too, Saul. Great show. What's up, Aja Smith? Nice to see you. Canon Hotep, what's good? All right. Go ahead and get my other stuff up here. All right, we're looking good. So that's more people get up in here. Yeah, keep them coming. Let me know you're live in the chat. It's hump day. Let me know how your Wednesday went. Any cool plans for the weekend? There we go. See, my mic always wants to unscrew itself from my thing here. It's not cool. There we go. That's better. All right, just about ready. I've got my magic water jug here. Humpless hump day. Yeah. All right. Okay, just about ready. Oh, I see. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. So we got a few things to talk about today. Not as much as normal, but we'll make it work. Before I get started, though, I do want to remind you to please subscribe. I'm almost to my goal as far as subscribers go. As far as getting monetized, I'm almost there. I have less than 200 more to go. I still need more watch time, though. But that'll come as I get more subscribers. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. So please subscribe. And if you've already subscribed, please share this video. Let people know what we're doing. As a matter of fact, I need to share it. Do that right now. And while I'm doing this, just want to let you guys know I am going to be putting more energy into my locals.com community. If you're not familiar with that, the link is in the show notes, but I have my own community. It's just a monthly subscription, just $5 per month, but I'm going to be putting some more. I'm going to be putting some members only content in there, stuff that you can only get if you're a part of my community. So that's going to be coming up really soon, like within a week or so. I'm going to start doing that. I'm also going to be hosting live chats. I'm thinking maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays. So on nights when I don't live stream, I'll do live chats where you guys can ask me questions. So live chat Q&As, stuff like that. Good stuff about the issues of the day or whatever you want to talk about. But yeah, that would help me out quite a bit. I mean, I'm a full-time content creator now. So, I mean, this will help me bring you more content. If you want to know my thoughts on certain things, I like to bring a more nuanced approach to the issues of the day, as you already know if you follow me. But even if you want to just do a one-time donation here, that helps too. It all helps me to be able to bring you the content. And the more I'm able to do that, the more content I can create, and the more that we can interact and hopefully make a difference. So go ahead and tweet this out real quick. Like things aren't working here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay. I am back. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Mrs. Pinky, how you doing? How you doing? Long time no see. Kamoni Gilliam, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right, but I'm glad to see you here. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, locals.com. If you look in the show notes, it should be in there. I'll put the link in the chat too. Let's do this. Actually, what I am offering a free trial of the first, not a free trial, like the first 30 days for free. So if you want to sign up, use the promo code FREEMIND, singular, not plural, just FREEMIND. I'll put that in the chat too. And then you'll be able to access content that not everybody else will be able to. Come on. Okay, there we go. Promo code FREEMIND. All right. What's up, Miss Felicia? Glad you could join us. Let me get rid of this here. All right. I am ready to dive in. Pull up my little list here. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the candidate running for governor of Michigan, Austin Chenge, or as Corey calls him, Chingy, like the rapper, Holiday Inn. I'm probably going to butcher the guy's last name, but you know what? He wants to butcher Black History Month, so I don't feel bad about it. So I'm going to be talking about that and how it relates to messaging on the right. Hotep Jesus asked some very pointed questions about impeachment on Twitter today, so I'm going to be answering those questions as best as I can. And then finally, we're going to talk about Cara Dune, the Gina Carano controversy. They're trying to cancel Gina Carano again. They've been trying to cancel her for, I want to say, like a little over a year now. They just can't seem to do it. I guess she just plays her role too well. But let's start with this Black History Month thing. Let me pull up the guy's tweet. Let's see. Where is that tweet? I just had it. Okay. See, now my computer wants to go slow. You see how that works? It's not cool. All right, I'm just going to grab it from here. So his tweet, and again, he is running for governor of Michigan. He wants to oust Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who is not too popular. Well, I mean, she's kind of popular depending on what side you're on, I suppose. So it should be this one. Oh, wait, oh, snap. His tweet is not up. Did he delete his tweet? No way. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to be able to show you the tweet. It's not there anymore. Wait. Let me double check that really quick. Maybe I just have the wrong link. Let's just see. If he deleted that tweet, I'm going to be too through. He posted it on Instagram and on Twitter. Wait, where'd it go? Oh, no, he didn't delete it. Okay. I just had the wrong thing. Okay. So let me go ahead and put that on there. Okay. Here it is. So again, running for governor of Michigan, black man, or as Corey calls him, a person of color. He doesn't even give him that the honor of being black. And he says, and he's got a series of campaign promises here, but he says, I will cancel Black History Month in Michigan. It's offensive, unfair, maybe illegal. Americans from all backgrounds deserve a revered history. I'll declare American History Month. Austin Chenge, #veteran and first Republican governor candidate for Michigan. AustinForGovernor.com. No, thank you. And he's got this, this cute little infographic here, or card, or whatever you want to call it. So he wants to abolish Black History Month. So yeah, of course you have the screenshot, Aja. I know you do. But yeah, so here's the thing. First off, I mean, what he's saying is ridiculous on its face, right? There's nothing offensive about Black History Month. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of people who are offended by Black History Month who don't weekends wearing white robes and burning crosses. Nobody cares about Black History Month as far as it being offensive. It offends nobody. He says it's unfair. He doesn't explain what's unfair about it because it's not unfair. The reality is that in our history classes, we're taught primarily about white history. Black history isn't really included all that much in there, but because Black history should be included because it's American history. Now, he is right on that. Black history should be American history. Although, no, actually, he didn't really even say that. He just said, I'll just declare American History Month, which is stupid because we already learn about American history when we're in school year round. So he's saying that we should switch it from Black history to American history. Now, this is a common trope on the right. I'm sure you guys have heard this a lot. Don't identify as Black. You should identify as American. Why does it have to be about Black? We should just call it American, unless they're talking about Black on Black violence. Then they want to call it Black on Black. Then they want to acknowledge the race, culture, skin color. They don't call it American on American violence. It's Black on Black violence. So this is just another version of that same trope. Now, here's the thing. The reason why we have Black History Month is because there isn't not enough a representation in our normal historical discourse. Now, I think some of that's gotten better, but it still has a long way to go. And here's the thing, before I even get deeper into it, the only way I would be willing to get rid of Black History Month, the only way possibly that I would even consider it, now I won't even say I'd be willing, I would consider it, is if we actually started treating Black history as American history. I mean, if you're ADOS, our ancestors helped build this country, did it for free, like Corey said. And that deserves to be honored. We also have months for other types of history. We have LGBT history. We've got Jewish history. A lot of people don't know about that. One of my followers told me about it, actually. And I mean, we've got the Hispanic history. So there really is no reason to get rid of the holiday. It's not doing any damage to society. It's not doing any damage to political discourse. If anything, it does a service because if it's done right, it helps to educate Black people about their history. It helps to educate white people about Black history and the contributions that we made to the United States of America and really to the world. So there should be no issue with this at all. And here's the thing. When it comes to Black history, we've got to recognize the bad with the good, right? I mean, it's why I don't really subscribe to the whole 1619 project. I'm sure if I read through it, there's a lot that I have agreed with, and then there's also some falsehoods there as well. But I also didn't agree with going with the whole 1776 type education because I could just pretty much figure out where that's going to go. It's going to take our history classes back to the 50s where things were whitewashed and made more salient and easier to digest. I think we should include them both. We need to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. And when it comes to Black people in America, that history needs to be told. Those who fail to understand history are doomed to repeat it. But there's a bigger issue at play here. And, I can't read minds, but I'm just going to kind of talk about what I think the motivations are behind his campaign promise. And I think he's just doing what a lot of establishment Black conservatives do. He thinks that this message is going to play well with a white audience, with a white conservative audience, which is what a lot of Black conservative Inc. type of people do. They will make certain statements, especially if it's bashing the Black community or tearing them down or promoting false stereotypes about the Black community. They do that because they think it appeals to their audience. And unfortunately, to a certain extent, it does. Especially over the past few decades, it's definitely appealed to a lot of white conservatives. Not all. And for a while, it was most. But I think it's a little bit different now, but that element still exists. So that's why you get things like, oh, let's get rid of Black History Month, because he's hoping that white conservatives in Michigan will say, hey, yeah, we should do that. He's probably even trying to get more national recognition for saying things like that. I mean, he's seen how certain Black conservatives can gain a level of clout by bashing anything related to Black culture. But not even Candace Owens has gone this far. I don't even think Brandon Tatum has gone this far. The only other person I can think of who has gone this far would be Jesse Lee Peterson. And he says that we shouldn't have a Black History Month. We should have a White History Month. And the guy, I don't know if he's trolling or what. Nobody can really figure this out. Like if he's serious about a lot of the things he says or if he's not, but whatever. You don't have a whole lot of support for that. But here's one thing I will point out. I mean, relating to how the messaging is on the right. I mean, the messaging, in my opinion, like I've mentioned in previous videos, is designed to put forth the illusion to white conservatives that their conservative leaders and politicians are actually making a genuine, authentic effort to reach the Black community when they really aren't. And the reason they do this is because the majority of white conservatives would like to see more Black people, Hispanics, Asians, come into the fold. They want to see that. So these people play on that by essentially tricking them into believing that they're actually trying to bring about this mass exodus of Black people to the right when they're really not. And the thing is that they misinform their audience. They miseducate their audience about the Black community. They'll put up Black faces like this guy or other people to promote certain falsehoods about the Black community to get white conservatives to view us a certain way. But here's one thing I will say. I mean, I saw a lot of people complaining about his ad, and a lot of people complaining about how it looks for the rest of us Black conservatives who actually want to make that difference. And we're actually interested in telling the truth about the Black community and how the Republican Party failed Black people in America. But when I looked at his tweet, I didn't see a lot of people taking the bait. Yes, there were plenty of ignorant people on there like, oh yeah, let's get rid of Black History Month because it's racist. But for the most part, I mean, even among conservatives, they were criticizing it. They were saying there's no reason to do this. We don't need to get rid of Black History Month. We should preserve it. It was instituted under a Republican president, Gerald Ford. So I'm looking at the silver lining here. They didn't take the bait. By and large, white conservatives did not take the bait on this. It didn't gain any traction on the right. It got ridicule, and I don't think it's going to get any traction on the right. Hopefully, Candace Owens doesn't post a tweet about it, because then that might set things back a little bit more. But even so, the majority of white conservatives are not going to come out and join a movement to get rid of Black History Month, because I think most people understand why it's there, and they understand why that idea is ridiculous in the first place. So if this had happened again, and I say this about a lot of different subjects, but if he had posted this, say 5-10 years ago, let's say 10 years ago, he probably would have gotten a lot more support from white conservatives than he is right now. But I am seeing more of an evolution. It's a slow evolution, but there is an evolution on the right when it comes to addressing the Black community and talking about issues pertaining to the Black community. So that's pretty much all I want to say about that. I don't want to give it too much attention, because I think that this is going to fade out within a few days. obviously he's not going to win the race. I mean, at this point, I mean, if he even started to get traction, people will point out what he said. Nobody wants this guy in office, I'm sure. So just wanted to touch on that a little bit. So I'll move on to the next one in just a second. I'm just going to take a look at the chats here, see what I got. Let me go back up here. Okay. He was black with Brexit. Was he with Brexit? Because if he was, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Let's see. Oh, yeah, he was black when it was with Brexit. Yeah, he wasn't just identifying as American. Black with unemployment. Yes. Let's see. Yeah, you're right. It's not illegal. There's nothing illegal about the holiday. And that's why he didn't explain why it's illegal, because it really isn't. What else do we have here? Oh, this is the coolest. From Aja, February, African American History Month, National Women's History Month, Irish American Heritage Month. I didn't even know that existed. Irish American Heritage Month. And then National Deaf History Month. So I mean, there are months for other people, not just Black folks. But that brings up another point. Why would he specifically attack Black History Month? And this is a tendency that you see a lot with the Sesame Streeters on the right. They will specifically go after things that are Black. But like for instance, you don't see Asian Americans, you don't see white or Black conservatives whining about Asians identifying as Korean American or Chinese American or what have you. You don't hear anybody do that to Latinos either. They just do it to us. This is because this is the type of messaging that they've been indoctrinated with over the past few decades. And on top of that, one thing, I'm just going to mention one more thing. The dude isn't even American. I mean, I don't know if he was born in America or not, but his family comes from Nigeria. He's not even ADOS. So he's going to bring his view over and say, well, I'm going to eliminate it for you guys, because really Black History Month is about ADOS for the most part. It's about people who descend from slaves that were brought here against their will. So he's going to try to abolish our holiday because he has no connection to it. That's like me getting a plane ticket right now, going over to Nigeria and telling them how they should honor their history. That wouldn't go over so well. Let's see. All right. See, and that's Miss Pinky. That's why you shouldn't be arguing about it. These people who argue for this stuff are not serious. So there's no reason to give them your time. And when I say they're not serious, I don't mean that they don't mean what they say. I just mean that they shouldn't be taken seriously. Let's see. Sick and tired of hearing about Morgan Freeman too. Well, but Morgan Freeman said what I said. I mean, it should be considered part of regular American history. So I mean, I get where he's coming from. Let's see. And yeah, this is true. It could be for shock value. I mean, we do have a lot of that nowadays, especially with the grifter class. I mean, they want to do things to get attention. Let's see. All right, I think that's enough. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. And while I'm pulling up the next thing, please share the video. I really appreciate it. You're awesome. So next is Mr. Hotep Jesus. And he had a few questions about impeachment. So I'm going to bring that up right now so you can watch it. Let's do this. All right.
I got a couple of questions. Number one, how do you impeach somebody who's no longer president? And let's say you do impeach him, what is the penalty? Third, how is this not a complete waste of time and taxpayer money? Fourth, is this not one big distraction / circus? I don't know. Weigh in, educate me. I can't read.
All right, cool. So I'm going to answer each and every one of those questions. And I suspect he already kind of knows the answer to at least most of these, if not all of them, but still want to give my 2 cents here. So the first question, how do you impeach somebody who is no longer president? Now, if you've been following this, even in the lead up to the impeachment, you already know that there's been a huge debate over this, right? I mean, can you really impeach someone after they are out of office? As far as the constitutionality of it, the Constitution provides impeachment And it was always originally intended to remove someone from office. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. It's there when you need to remove somebody from office, whether it's a president or a judge or another type of elected official. But I mean, there are legal questions on this. I mean, there are experts on both sides who say, oh, you can impeach a president after he's out of office, and others who say, no, it's not constitutional. As a matter of fact, when they put that to a vote a couple of weeks ago, when Senator Rand Paul got up and gave his objection, claiming that impeaching a president after he's already out of office is unconstitutional, 45 members of the Senate voted in favor of that. Now, the rest obviously voted in favor of going along with the trial, but the fact that 45 senators voted to declare it unconstitutional shows that this whole thing isn't going anywhere. But still, the constitutionality is in question. It's not settled law. Those who claim that it most definitely is constitutional don't know what they're talking about, or they're lying to you. This is the type of thing that could be taken up in court if it actually got to that point. So, second question is, what is the penalty? Like, what's the point of impeaching him when he's out of office, when he can't be extra removed from office? And obviously, this isn't to send him to jail. This is strictly just for impeachment purposes. So the penalty that they're looking for is preventing Trump from running again in 2024. Remember, these people are terrified of Trump. I don't care what they say. I mean, all of their actions suggest that they've been terrified of Trump and his supporters from day one. So they don't want any part of this. I mean, the establishment too, the establishment Republican Party, not just the left, the establishment Republican Party is terrified of Trump. And they do not want him running again in 2024. Now, I don't even know if he wants to. I mean, I kind of know what he's going to be doing in a few minutes, with his super PAC. He's going to be going after members of Congress. But the issue is, can he run again if they convict? It's not clear whether a conviction would even be binding on that. They are looking at a few different options, but the primary option is to, after, let's say they convict him, they want to run another vote using Section 3 of the Fourth Amendment, which could prevent him from running for office. Now, here's the thing. I actually spoke with a colleague of mine at Liberty Nation. His name is Scott Cosenza. He's a constitutional lawyer. And before I go into it, I'm just going to, iterate that this was his opinion. I mean, he'd have to do more research on this. But as far as his opinion goes, it could potentially lead to another court case. Like, for instance, if they were to convict him, and then let's say they voted to strip him of his rights, or of his right to run again, 2024 rolls around, or a couple years before that, and he registers. The first state that he would register to run in would have to sue him and say, nope, you can't run, and then it would go to court. But it would have to go to the state court first. And in all 50 states, each state, because remember, we don't technically have one presidential election. We have 50. It's done in all 50 states. Then that's all tallied up into the Electoral College. So each state would have to file a challenge to that. And then that would most likely go to the Supreme Court, who would determine whether the Senate was constitutional when they tried him for impeachment, or voted to convict him when he was already out of office. And they would need to also decide whether their vote to keep him from running for office is valid. Now, as far as Section 3 of the Fourth Amendment goes, this is something that they could, let me see if I have it up here. This is something that they could potentially invoke, and it's in the article of impeachment. So it's kind of obvious what they're going for here. Where did I put that? Let's see. I thought I had it here, but it basically says, if you're an elected official and you participate in fomenting an insurrection or a rebellion, then you could be stripped of your of the ability to run for office again. And if vote that way and they want to reverse it, it would take 3/4 of each chamber of Congress to overrule that. Now, that's why they would have to prove that, one, what happened was an actual insurrection, which that's debatable, because again, you have to prove that these people were actually trying to overthrow the government and then take over the government, which Not a lot of evidence for that, right? I mean, if I'm going to take over the government and I want to put myself in charge, I'm going to have an army with guns, weapons. I'm not going to try to do it with my fists, right? Against armed police officers. I mean, when you look at this objectively, this was clearly, it was planned, obviously, but these are people who are frustrated because they believe that the election is stolen. They have a host of other issues that they're taking issue with, and they were expressing their anger and frustration. And again, like I've said before, they should all go to jail for what they did. It was wrong, but I don't know that the term insurrection would really apply to this. Because here's the thing: if the left is going to argue insurrection, then they have to acknowledge that what happened last summer, those were all insurrections too. A lot of those were done against federal buildings. So were they insurrections or not? You can't say one is and then one isn't just based on political affiliation. So the thing is, the other issue is, did Trump incite? And that's what this whole trial is about. I think it's going to be hard to prove that. I mean, I watched the video that they did their opening arguments with, and all it is them interlacing his speech with footage from the actual riot. But none of that actually ties into incitement. Like, if you look at the legal definition of incitement, President Trump never actually called for violence. In fact, he said the opposite. And it's funny because they left that part out of the video. They left out the part where he said, we're going to peacefully make our voices heard. I mean, if he's saying peacefully, it's hard to make that charge stick. I mean, somebody who's trying to incite violence isn't going to say to protest peacefully. So the issue is that they would have to be able to prove both of those things, and that's a huge stretch. So here's the next part. He asked, is it a huge waste of time and money? Yes, of course it is. I mean, they're not going to win this, and they know it. They know that the Republicans aren't going to vote to convict because they don't have evidence showing that he incited the violence. It's not about whether their arguments are any good. It's already been established that the riots were planned days before Trump even gave his speech. Because remember, they're predicating their whole case on the fact that Trump in his speech incited violence. The problem is that the riots started during his speech and they were planned before. And this is also why I think it's going to backfire on the Democrats in the future. I mean, people want to move on. The election happened. That's it. They want to move on, see what Biden's doing. So here's the thing. To people who aren't Trump haters, like people who may dislike Trump, but they're not religious about it, they're going to see this as a total waste of time. Like Hotep Jesus said, it is a waste of time, a waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of Congress's energy that could be focused on other things, like, say, COVID relief, distributing the vaccines. I mean, there's a lot of other important issues here. Also, people who really think that Trump deserves to be convicted, they're going to be disappointed because the Democrats are telling them that they're going to convict Trump. They're selling this to their base. When it doesn't happen, it's not going to look so good for them. It may cause them to not show up at the polls during the 2022 midterms. Last question. Is impeachment a distraction? Are they using this as a distraction? But that's the wrong question. The question isn't whether they're using this as a distraction. The question is, what are they trying to distract us from? Because they are most certainly using this to distract from something. And I may not know all of what it is, but I've had a few guesses. They recently reintroduced the PRO Act, which is the federal version of AB 5, which would affect freelancers and contract workers and put a lot of people out of work, including myself. I mean, I write for two conservative websites, and I do so on a freelance basis, on a contract basis. I'm not a W-2 employee. It could potentially wipe out my job. So it's not a very popular piece of legislation. When AB 5 passed in California, there was a huge backlash against it. There still is, to the point to where they had to make exceptions for certain types of freelancers. But they could be distracting from that. They could be distracting from the fact that the Biden administration isn't doing such a good job as far as distributing the vaccines. As a matter of fact, they've already tried to blame it on Trump twice. And in the first place, they were proven wrong. I mean, they said that they came in and they didn't inherit any plan to distribute vaccines. Then Dr. Fauci went on CNN and said, no, that's not true. There's a plan. There's something that they can work with here. So the Biden administration lied, CNN helped them lie, and then Dr. Fauci kind of threw a wrench in that. But even just recently, Biden was saying that the way the Trump administration was handling the vaccine distribution was so horrible that it messed up his team. But again, I don't trust them because they've already lied about it. And besides that, the plan that they have isn't really much different from Trump's. It wouldn't result in any more vaccines being distributed quicker. So that's pretty much all I'll say about impeachment for the time being, because we still got a lot, to talk about it. It'll be wrapped up within a week. Like I said, they want to do this quickly, but we'll see what happens. Let me check the chats here. Let's see. Why do Dems seem to hate Trump so much? Because he's a Republican. That's easy. Well, I think it's that in the fact that he would actually fight them on a lot of the things that they would say. He wouldn't just kind of roll over and take it. I think that's why they don't like him too. Let's see. Yep. Just like you said, Buzzard, we've had enough of Trump. Adopt the policies, be tough, but more relatable. Yeah, people want to move on. I mean, people don't want to be obsessed with Trump anymore. I mean, we went through 4 years of that. I mean, come on. Let's see. If Republicans win in 2024, can they impeach Obama or Biden after inauguration just because? I mean, that's the precedent that the Democrats are setting. I mean, why not? I mean, impeachment is getting to the point where it doesn't really mean anything anymore. Let's see. Why does the establishment hate Trump so much? His America First approach? Well, I think that's a huge part of it. And that's something that I might talk about on my next live stream, because I really want to go into the civil war that's happening on the right at this moment and see where it could lead in the future. But the establishment hates Trump because he called them out. Nobody else had called them out, really. And the problem is that a lot of his policies are things that Republicans always vow to do when they get into office, and then they get into office and then they don't do it. It's the reason why the Tea Party became a thing. So, but the problem is that the Tea Party ended up fizzling out. But President Trump unseated a lot of these people, as far as not taking them out of their positions, but taking them out of their positions of influence. Yes, because people wanted to listen to Trump more than, say, Mitt Romney or Paul Ryan. So these establishment figures, they were comfortable, really. I mean, because they knew that they would still get the votes, they'd still be in power, and they can still get in there and do next to nothing to push the agenda that their constituents wanted. Trump actually got in there and said, no, I actually want to do this stuff. Now, he didn't succeed at a lot of it, but he at least put forth the effort. I mean, Trump was never going to be able to enact his full agenda because there was too much opposition ensconced, and not just on the left, but on the right too. So, yeah, I mean, the establishment hates Trump because he exposed them. He showed them for what they were, and he did so very publicly, and he was nasty about it. Like he didn't do it in a nice way. And now you've got other leaders who are willing to call that out too. I mean, you've got people in Congress, and you've got people who are willing to take on the media who, I mean, as much as the Republicans complain about it, they didn't really care. I mean, they were Democrats light. I mean, there were very few who were willing to stand up against the media. I mean, Newt Gingrich was one. But yeah, I think that's why the establishment didn't like Trump. Let's see. Felicia, these people know they're getting the public riled up over nothing. And no matter how much I try warning, they want to listen to these politicians. Well, let them. I mean, we did that on our side too. I mean, they get us riled up for stupidity, and it ends up not working out. The Democrats are doing the same thing. I mean, they shouldn't be trusting their leaders like this. But I mean, when you're a hyper partisan, that's what you do. What'll be interesting to see is if they will be angry enough at their leaders after this whole thing fails. I think a lot of them will, not all of them, but I think a lot of them will. I think this is going to redound negatively on the Democrats. Let's see. They don't care about facts or the Constitution, just power. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Unity. Yeah, really. These people don't want unity. Although I will say, I think most people on the left actually want unity. Most of the rank and file type folks, they would love some unity right now, just like we would. Let's see. People will forget in 2 years. Yeah, you know how America's attention span is. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, drain the swamp hits the establishment in their wallet. And yes, and that is the other reason why the establishment doesn't like Trump. Because after he came on the scene, and those who kind of follow along with his agenda, they see that these people were just living high on the hog and doing nothing. And what's unfortunate is that they still are. I think that's one of the reasons why they've been driving a lot of this division. Yeah, I mean, people on the left want to blame it all on Trump. I'm sorry, their people are doing it too. People on the right are driving division. People on the left are driving division. You've got politicians, you've got pundits, you've got leaders, prominent individuals who are contributing to the state of our political discourse. Like somebody asked me again today, so do you think Trump had nothing to do with the riots? Do you think he had no part to play? And my answer was, I never said that. President Trump did not incite violence. That's my contention. But if you're arguing that he contributed to the divisive atmosphere that led to the riots and led to other acts of political violence, because there were other acts that happened before this that were done by the left, yeah, of course he contributed to it. But it wasn't just him. And here's the thing, and who profits from that? From getting us all riled up at each other? It's the elites on both sides. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are contributing to this. And as long as they keep us at each other's throats and focused on how horrible the other side is, they can continue to build the swamp and line their pockets. Let's see. What is the right's plan to do or to deal with this? Or I really don't know. I have no idea, but there is change coming. I mean, we're not going back to the establishment. We're not going back to the days of Romney. That's not going to be a thing anymore. I'm not saying that we're going to become 100% Trumpist, but we're not going back to the Jeb Bush days. We're not going back to Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney, this is her last term, in my opinion. And it's not just her. A lot of these people, I think, are going to get voted out. And I support that. I mean, I'm going to use my platform to get people voted out who need to be voted out during the primaries. I want actual conservatives in there. But here's the thing. I don't want like the Marjorie Taylor Greens. I don't want a bunch of AOCs on our side. I want people who are sensible, who will go in there and try to work for change and bring about positive conservative solutions. Let's see. Yep. I remember the Republican establishment, Paul Ryan and others, having that meeting with Trump when his nomination was looking likely in 2016 to see if he was in line with their agenda. Yeah. And that's where a lot of the clashes came in. The establishment has got to go. I don't think that every member of the establishment is bad, but I think a lot of them are. They want the status quo. They are the swamp. So we've got to get them out of there and get actual people in. And by the way, they're doing this on the left too. I mean, the Democrats are going after their establishment as well. Now, a lot of these are the socialist elements that are trying to go after the more moderate establishment. But I mean, it's happening. We're going to see a lot of changes coming up over the next few years. So let me go on to the last thing that I want to touch on. A little bit of pop culture. If you know me, you know I love The Mandalorian. It's one of my favorite shows. I'm a big Star Wars geek. And I want to talk about this non-controversy with Gina Carano. It seems like every few months they're trying to cancel this woman. Now, Gina Carano, she plays Cara Dune in The Mandalorian. One of my favorite characters. She's awesome. She plays a shock trooper who was part of the rebellion. And now she's, I believe she's the marshal on the planet of Navarro, which is probably too much detail. But here's the thing. She's gotten in trouble for saying things that the trans crowd didn't like, which the things she said were pretty milquetoast. She just said that she didn't want to put her pronouns in her bio. And she said that she didn't want to be bullied into it. And she called out the bullying element of the far left, not just the regular left. I mean, it's the far left that deals in this stuff. I would bet money that most trans people didn't give a crap whether she puts pronouns in her bio or not. But the far left, I mean, it's like a religion to them. So she transgressed. So they tried to get her canceled for that. They've tried to get her canceled for other comments that she made that were really benign, but it drove them nuts. But the latest issue is what she said about Jews living in Germany under the Nazis, and how that could be translated into today. And now you guys know I don't like Hitler references, and she didn't make a Hitler reference. I understand what she was trying to say, and she wasn't calling out any one person. So what I'll do here, I'm going to pull up the article. Let's get that going. All right. Okay, so I'm not going to read this whole thing. I just want to scroll down. So yeah, Mandalorian star Gina Carano under fire for controversial social media post. It seems like that headline just comes up every few months. Like I said, they're always trying to cancel her. And it's amazing to me that they haven't succeeded. I have some ideas as to why it hasn't, and maybe how that could apply to other people going forward. But she seems like one of the people who's just become uncancelable. So she put something on social media, I believe on her Instagram and on Twitter. Now, she didn't write this. She basically tweeted what somebody else had written. And this is the key part here. She writes, or she posted, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? Now it says the post, which was originally made on a different Instagram account. Oh yeah, it read that. Okay, I'm tripping. But that was it. That's all it said. Now, if you know history, you know that what that statement says is 100% correct. Now, she wasn't saying that Nazis never beat up Jews. She was just saying a lot of times when Jews would get discriminated against or harassed or beaten or what have you, it was done by people in their own, in their fellow civilians, I'll say. And that's, if you know history, that's not controversial. I mean, Germany had a huge issue with anti-Semitism. In fact, all of Europe had an issue with anti-Semitism. As a matter of fact, a lot of those issues are still present in other European countries. This goes back thousands of years from, to the Crusades, when they would kill Jews just for being Jews. So this actually happened. And in Nazi Germany, you had the propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, who really contributed to this. And this was done on purpose. And what this post is doing is contrasting that to how we are now, to where, like I was saying before, the people in power want us at each other's throats. I mean, you've got people who are snitching on other people for having too many people in their house when there's COVID restrictions going on, people doing this and that. And I'm not saying that we're living like the Jews under Nazi Germany. That's not what I'm saying. I don't believe that comparison is really apt, but I kind of see what they're trying to say with that, right? I mean, that could potentially lead to that type of political environment. And we can't say that there isn't evidence of that happening. We have people getting censored on social media because of their political views. You can deny that all you want if you're like in the other camp, but employees who work at these companies have admitted to doing it. They've admitted to seeing others do it. So we know that this happens. There's evidence of it. Unless you're going to convince me that every single one of these people are lying, you have to admit that they are censoring specifically conservatives. I'm not saying that progressives or liberals never get banned or censored. I'm sure that happens sometimes. But you can't tell me that this happens to them as much as it happens to us. You've got people getting doxxed just for having different points of view, and you've got people on the left supporting it. I mean, CNN has revealed people's identities, and they've threatened to do so. If you remember the guy who edited that clip of Trump, and he was beating up a guy with the CNN logo on his head. If you remember that, CNN threatened to dox that guy. And the only reason they didn't is because he was apologetic about it, because he knew what they were going to do to him. And they said they reserved the right to expose his identity if he does it again. I mean, and these are just a few different examples, a few different ways that political affiliation is getting you treated a certain way. I mean, you've got people and entities who have their bank accounts canceled because the bank is getting pressured to get rid of them because they say things that the left doesn't like. Hell, all of them say things that I don't like. But what is this leading to? I mean, is this really the road that we want to go down? I mean, that could do a whole video just on that. But I want to kind of bring it back to Gina Carano, because like I said, they've been trying to cancel her for a little over a year now, and they haven't succeeded. I mean, it's great to see it. And I know they have to be pissed about this because they hate this woman. And again, I'm not saying this is all people on the left, but it's the woke brigade. It's the social justice warrior type. And the thing is, they know that what she posted was accurate, but they don't care. They tried to make it sound like she was being anti-Semitic or they tried to make it sound like she meant this literally. And they're coming back at her like, oh, this is an insult to all the 6 million Jews who were killed in the Holocaust and also the ones who survived and yada, yada, yada. It wasn't. And they know it wasn't. Again, they just want to pressure Disney into canceling her. And they haven't. And there could be a few reasons for that. I mean, one that came to mind is the fact that her character is very well loved. Everybody loves Cara Dune. She kicks ass. She doesn't take any crap. And she's good at what she does. And she's a great ally for the Mandalorian. And part of the reason why people love this character is because of the way that Gina Carano plays her. She plays her very well. I mean, you can tell that she loves doing this. She loves being that character. She loves being in Star Wars. She's having a blast. And she really brings out elements in the character that people like. I mean, I've even seen comments from people like, oh, I don't like her comments on trans or whatever. They buy into the hype, but they still say, but I love the way she plays that character. So I think that's one of the reasons why Disney hasn't given into the mob. And on top of that, I mean, they have to get rid of the character because they can't recast her. Who else are you going to cast as Cara Dune? I mean, there's a whole series coming up that involves her aside from The Mandalorian. So, I mean, they would have to, I mean, they may not have to cancel the entire series, but I think one of the main reasons why people are going to watch it is because of that character. So her doing her job well has essentially made her uncancelable. Now, it doesn't mean that at some point in the future they might not get rid of her. That might still happen, but she has lasted way longer than normally an actor would. Usually, the people who are uncancelable are comedians. Like you can't cancel like Dave Chappelle, for instance. They've tried. He's uncancelable. They'll never be able to get rid of him. Chris Rock and other comedians, Bill Burr, they try to cancel him too, but they can't. But it's always been different it seems like it's different for actors who aren't comedic. They can be canceled fairly easily. But this person hasn't. So I think if you're in a position where you're still going to make your company money, they won't bow to the mob. So I think that's kind of one thing that people can learn from this. But but still, it's kind of sad because there is no good reason to cancel Gina Carano. I mean, Pedro Pascal, he's the guy that plays Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. And she talked a while ago about how he talked to her about the whole trans movement and what it means. And she said that she now understands it better. She's still not going to put pronouns in her bio, but it's not that she had disrespect for the community in the first place, but she feels like she understands that better now. And Pedro Pascal just actually came out and announced that his brother is transgendered. So he hasn't condemned her as far as what I've seen. So that tells me that this is overblown. She's obviously not a bigot, but the thing is, they don't care. She is obviously right-leaning. I don't know if she's libertarian, conservative, or maybe, have some elements of leftism and rightism or whatever, but she's obviously not a far left progressive like you're expected to be in Hollywood. That's why they hate her. That's why they're trying to manufacture controversy. I mean, this latest case was just them throwing whatever they could against the wall and hoping that it would stick. So that's all I have to say about this until the next time they try to cancel Gina Carano. Then I'll be talking about it again. But I think that it's going to come to a head at some point. I'm not saying there will be violence, but I mean, people are going to get sick of this eventually. Nobody wants to be singing about how such and such was canceled because of this or that. I mean, it's annoying. It's like we're kids, you know. Let's see what else we got here. What's up, Kyle? What's good? How you doing? We got to get together and jam when I get better at banjo. Let's see. WandaVision. Okay. All right. I'll talk about WandaVision a little bit. I love WandaVision. WandaVision is great. And I'm not going to spoil anything because I don't know how many people have seen it, but I really loved the first couple episodes because they really brought me back to those days of watching those old sitcoms like Mr. Ed and, you know, I don't know, Dick Van Dyke Show. The first episode really reminded me of the Dick Van Dyke Show. I mean, Wanda had this whole Mary Tyler Moore thing going on. It's an excellent show, but I think this show is going to have a lot of significance in the Marvel universe. I think it's going to be more than what they've portrayed it to be. I think that there's going to be some huge ramifications there. They're hinting towards some stuff that I don't want to spoil anything. They're hinting towards some stuff that could indicate the different universes coming together, because as you know, certain characters Marvel couldn't do because Sony owned the rights or other companies own the rights. And a lot of that's kind of been consolidated now. So I think WandaVision is going to lead to some other stuff, and it's going to be awesome. And I think that they might be using Wanda as a conduit to kind of bring them more into the same world. If you know about the next Spider-Man movie, it's supposed to be about the Spider-Verse. I believe they're supposed to be introducing Miles Morales, but they're also going to be looking at others, the past Spider-Man. So Tobey Maguire is going to be in it. Andrew Garfield's going to be in it. And they're going to examine that whole world, but I don't know how it's going to end up. So Marvel's doing some stuff here that I probably don't know about. I don't know how much of it they announced, but I think it's going to be awesome. And like I said, I think WandaVision is going to lead into that. Let's see. The Honeymooners. You know, I never watched The Honeymooners. I maybe watched it sometimes, but I didn't really watch it all that much. I was really in a Dick Van Dyke. I used to watch My Three Sons, Mr. Ed, of course. That was one of my favorites. Bewitched. Never got into I Dream of Jeannie, but I loved Bewitched. Let's see. Yeah, you didn't know Saul? Yeah, Felicia's a huge nerd. Like you guys don't know. Like you guys think I'm nerdy. She's right there with me. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do a video where I actually just talk about the show with spoilers, and then Ken and Hotep, you can join in on that. We can talk about it. Let's see. Yeah, dude, Kyle, you need to get on that. Go to your Disney Plus, watch WandaVision. You'll be glad you did. Let's see what else we got. Anybody else got any questions or comments or what? Oh, The Mandalorian. That's on Disney Plus, and so is WandaVision. So if you have a Disney Plus subscription, then you can watch The Mandalorian. The second season just ended like a month or two ago. Excellent show. If you like Star Wars, even if you don't like Star Wars, The Mandalorian is a great show. It combines like the space opera feel with like the Clint Eastwood Western feel. You really feel like you're watching a Western, but in space. It's great. It's great. Let's see. Is that it? All right. Well, I think I'm going to sign off. And yeah. So again, I'll be here Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard. Now, if I feel the urge to do more than that, then I will, and I'll announce those. If something's on my mind, then I'll go ahead and do other live streams, but I'm definitely going to stick to Mondays and Wednesdays. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video, and also join my community on Locals, become a member. I'm going to be doing some members only content. So that will really help me stay afloat as I'm, creating more content, that good stuff. Again, it's just $4.99 per month. I mean, that's less than a Starbucks coffee, and you can help out your favorite conservatarian. It's great. But until then, I will see you next time.